Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us here Sunday night, a special edition. Lions Talk Live meets Mark Orum's Forums. And you know what? We're coming at everybody talking about a little bit of post-draft breakdown. We got the Duke crew and everybody from the YouTube world coming in and checking out what we've got to say, our thoughts and opinions about the Detroit Lions, and what does this all mean? What do we get out of these guys that we've now acquired, these new assets to a stacked team? Mark, you've been a YouTuber for about 15,000 years now. You are perhaps the grandfather of YouTube. So give us a little bit of a, for those maybe who don't know or maybe haven't heard you in a bit, tell us a little bit about you and your channel and break it all down.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for having me on, Dan. I love it, man. It's good to have, for me and you to talk. We don't get this chance much often. So, yeah, man, I've been doing this for a few years now. I seem like I'm a grandfather, but I'm not that old. But yeah, man, I've been doing this for about 3-4 years now. I have fun with it, man. It's something I do on the side, and I love talking Detroit Lions football. Love talking the draft. I love everybody in the comment section. I'm just here to talk football, bro. Let's get at it, brother.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right, let's start this off the top. Since the Lions ended their season, there's been a lot of talk about, hey, maybe we shouldn't win for it on fourth downs. You got to ride and die with what you do as a coach and a staff. So going for it, hey, you lost a game of inches on the road, NFC title game. Going into the offseason, how do you feel this team had to look back and say, here's the positives from last season, here's some things we need to address? What do you think they did going into the offseason to say, hey, we got to make ourselves better?
Well, that NFC championship game versus those 49ers, man, that still leaves a sting. It leaves a bitter taste in our mouths. So I can just only imagine what it kind of has for the guys that are actually on the football team and that coaching staff, because they live and breathe football. They didn't breathe football, and they had some things that they needed to clean up in the offseason, and I think they've done a part of that. And with some of the free agency signings that they've done, going after a Davenport, he's a little bit banged up guy, but when healthy, he can produce. Sutton doing what he did. They had to release him, and then they kind of brought back Mosley, brought back Vildor, brought back a couple of guys that were a little bit shocked to come back, and then did what they did in the draft, man.
Right.
We had a terrible woo. All right, there you go. There you go. That's a woo for me. Love it. And then where was I? I lost track there.
The woo got you.
No, but what they needed to do in the offseason, they needed to really bolster some of this pass defense. Run defense was fine. I think they've even strengthened that with the DJ Reader signing, and then just doing what they've done there. But we all knew they needed to kind of fix this pass defense. I think a lot of us really wanted some defensive end, some more edge in this draft. We didn't really get that. Maybe we'd talk about that Wingo kid a little bit, who could maybe help out there. But the secondary was awful, and I think we really, really fixed. I don't want to say totally fixed, but we have done a really nice job of putting a really secured Band-Aid on that secondary.
Let's talk about the secondary, because obviously it felt like, let me rephrase this. It felt like about halfway through the season, or towards the back half of last season, Aaron Glenn really just kind of scrapped the defense and started all over. We've talked a little bit over the time that maybe Aaron Glenn, like maybe other coaches, can be a little bit stubborn. But something happened when he went into that Denver game and just kind of changed back to what he had did the season before, being uber aggressive, blitzing a ton from safeties, linebackers, just anybody they could, getting your mom to blitz the quarterback.
Yeah.
And he just saying, heck, we can't just let teams dink and dunk against us. We're going to go press man across the board and just, hey, you beat us. When that happened, it felt like this team really started getting a little bit more done defensively. But to your point, a lot of the DBs just couldn't make plays. Do you feel in free agency, and then I guess now the draft, priority number one for this regime was to correct the secondary?
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely. That you just hit it too with the press man. The guys that they got, Carlton Davis, he excelled in man coverage in Tampa Bay. When he had to go in zone, it wasn't as good. But even his presser, he came out and he goes, "Go check out my numbers when I'm in man coverage." He was one of the best corners in the NFL
Right.
in man. So I'm not calling Carlton Davis the best corner in the NFL, but in man, he was very, very good. And then if you go look at guys like Amik Robinson, same with him, man. He's a smaller corner, but he's better in man. And then the two guys that we picked up in the first and second round, Arnold and Rakestraw Jr., they excel in man. They're physical corners. They play the run well. That's what this regime really wants too. All the guys that they grabbed, even the D linemen and linebacker, whoever they pick up, they do well in run defense. That's one thing they want, is they want their defenders to be able to play the run. But they also want their corners to be good man corners. And then when the good man corners, man, they're sticky, they irritate the wide receivers, they get in their faces, they're uber aggressive. That's what they want for these corners to be, and I think they've kind of hit on that so far early.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think everybody expected this regime in the draft would somehow address defensive end, and I get we did sign a couple of guys for non-drafted free agents or unrestricted free agents, I guess you could say. We did add, as you alluded to, Davenport. Houston's back, and I'm assuming by the time the season starts, he's going to be 1,000% healthy. And then you got Pascal and some other guys. Do you feel that since we didn't address it in the draft, that maybe that's a telltale sign this regime feels there might be more to this pass rush currently with what we have, that maybe we just didn't need to go after it at all?
Well, yeah, some of that's true, Dan. Like, I think, like they went into we never know what their board looks like, right? We never know what their board looks like in the draft. So they could have a bunch of guys over a bunch of defensive ends that we don't know about. Like, right. they could have DNs. Like, personally, I think the draft for the defensive ends, I thought it was an extremely weak class. After Turner, Verse, and I think Latu, right. After that, I felt it was very weak. That's just my opinion. And it just kind of felt like that. I thought Miami jumped up on Robinson way too early, just stuff like that. And then I feel that this team, that Holmes, Campbell, they wanted to get secondary help over defensive end, especially for this draft. And they weren't going to reach for guys. So now what they're looking at, they're kind of looking at almost the same type of guys that we had last year rushing the passer.
Right.
Davenport's in there. He's brand new. He needs to stay healthy though. But I really don't expect him to stay healthy because he just doesn't. I hope he does though. Knock on wood. I really hope he does. But they're relying heavily on guys. I think it's going to be a heavy rotation. It's going to be Davenport. You're going to see Houston, Pascal, Kaminsky when they play outside. Like, we're going to see some guys. Maybe one of these undrafted free agents can hit. Nate Lynn, the guy they picked up from William and Mary. Maybe he can get after it. There's another guy. I can't really remember his name, but they're relying heavily on in-house guys right now. And I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but I just hope we're not having the same conversation late November, early December.
Here's the thought I have, and it sounds like you and I are on the same page with it. I feel like this regime said, hey, we're good enough to get to the Super Bowl. We're literally within plays. We just need to shore up a few things in the back half of this defense. And that's why they probably went after so much in free agency and then the draft. So with that being said, let's kind of break down the draft, get your opinions, because I'm eager to see what you got to say about each of these guys. So we'll start at the top, work our way down. What are your thoughts? As the draft was happening, I'm going to guess most people watching thought Arnold would be somewhere around the 15th pick, the 13th pick, 18th pick, or whatever. But the fact that the Detroit Lions were able to move up and apparently really upset the Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers in doing so. By the way, if you're watching, you get an opportunity, check out those War Room videos. I don't know if Tampa's one's out. I know Green Bay's is, but there's a lot of word around, I guess, the internet that both franchises were visibly upset about that Detroit snaked them. So, any rate, Arnold, what do you think of him?
Yeah, man. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat too, guys. What's up, man? How's everybody doing? Go Lions, one pride, baby. But yeah, I love the Terrion Arnold pick. I had him as my I pretty much had him as my number one corner going into this draft. It was really close between him and Quinyon Mitchell. And I remember being at the draft, and I was like, man, I go, these corners are falling. You're seeing all these offensive guys going boom, 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 boom. Real heavy offensive draft. It was a very good offensive draft for teams. And I was like, I turned to my buddy. I'm like, we're snagging one of these corners, man. I go, I got a feeling Holmes is going up and he's grabbing somebody. I got a feeling. I don't know who it's going to be. I kind of hope it's Arnold. That's who I want. And then when the opportunity came, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that. He's a guy that, I think he's a 21-year-old kid. He's going to have some bumps and bruises. Am I going to call him CB1 off the jump? I'm not really too sure about that yet. Carlton Davis might have something to say about that. But he's a guy that has unlimited potential. I think the sky is the ceiling is just, it's wide open for him, man. And he's a physical corner. He will not shy away from the run. He's sticky. He has got beat though by some bigger athletes at the wide receiver position. He's going to learn, and he's going into a division where we needed to go get some corners because of the guys that we got to face, like the Justin Jeffersons. Look what the Bears did. I don't know who. It's going to be tough to cover all those guys. DJ Moore, Odunze, and then Keenan Allen. That's tough. And then you got Minnesota with Jefferson and Addison, and then you got Green Bay with Watson and Romeo Doubs. So it's a really tough situation for the kid to come in, but he's up for it. He says he wants to travel with the ones. I love the pick. I think it was an A+ pick. They couldn't have done a better job. And getting by the Green Bay Packers, like you said, is the icing on the cake right there, baby. You're muted, brother. You're muted.
There was a speculation before the draft that Brad Holmes was trying to trade up, or at least called and made some inquiries about potentially going up to 12, 13, 15. I think 19 was another option. So he was definitely feeling the waters, testing the waters for a potential trade up. And then once the first round ended, when he goes to the mic and talks about Arnold and the draft day process for him, the great fan base, everybody turning out, he does kind of allude to the fact that he made some calls trying to get in, I think he said, into the high teens. So do you think that was for Arnold? Do you think he was maybe going for one of the edges possibly? Or do you think basically in the nutshell, all along, his goal or objective was to get Terrion Arnold?
See, I'm not really sure. I just know they wanted to bolster this secondary. So I'm going to stick along with it and just say I think it was for Terrion Arnold. I think the one defensive end that I was kind of hoping that they would have got, and that he was my favorite player in the draft, was Latu. That was my favorite player in the draft. So maybe there was talks about maybe going up to get him, possibility. I think the Colts took him at 12, and I thought it was a great pick by. I think that was a great pick by Indy. I guess teams were really trying to get up and trade with the Colts. Colts didn't want to budge though. That's from what I heard. Colts did not want to budge whatsoever, and they were like, we're taking Latu. So maybe Brad Holmes was on the phone with the Colts teams right there, and he was trying to get up to get Latu. But I'm just going to say that they were just trying to get Arnold, man, and it's just hard to pick his brain. I don't really know what Brad Holmes is thinking sometimes.
No, I like the way they went with Arnold, and I think everybody about has the same opinion of him. I mean, does he have the absolute over-the-top elite speed? No, but he's not bad by any stretch. I think they can probably help it a little bit, but he's also somebody, when I watch him at the combine and stuff, or doing shuttle drills, 40-yard dash and stuff, and then when I watch him with the pads on, some guys you can tell there's a big difference. With him, I'm not so sure there's a huge difference. Mm-hmm. The other part I noticed, when receivers get in and out of breaks, and he's faced a lot of good ones in college, he sticks with them. He keeps that margin for error for quarterbacks pretty small. So I like him a ton, and it sounds like you do too. On my board, I had him as the 10th best football player in the draft. So the fact that we were able to get him, at 24, I think is just great value. And kudos to the front office for pulling him out and getting him, plus potentially keeping him away from a division rival.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on from it, let's talk about Rakestraw Jr. real quick. I'm going to guess if everybody was surprised by Arnold's selection or us getting him, probably Rakestraw was probably not most people's second round selection when we went into the second day of the draft thinking, hey, Brad Holmes is going to double down and he's going to get potentially another top 30 to 40 / player, at least on, it sounds like most, analysts draft board. He was somewhere right around there, mid 30s, maybe low 40s, and you were able to get him 61. Talk to us about Rakestraw Jr.
Yeah, this is another guy, man. Like when I was doing my podcast live, I wasn't as thrilled about this pick when it happened at the time, because I was kind of hoping that they were going to maybe wait on Braylon Trice. That's who I kind of wanted for our second round pick. He went a little bit later in the third round to the Falcons. So I wasn't as enthused about this pick as some people were. I think it was a little bit mixed emotion with me. I was very tired though the next day when I did my pod, but
Sure.
The more I kind of absorbed it, I slept on it. I did a little more homework on the kid, watched a little more film, some game tape. I was like, okay, I like this kid. This is a kid. This is the kid that's, he's not an overall big kid. He's like 5'11", 180 something pounds. A sticky guy, a better excels. He's probably one of the best man cover corners in this draft. Another plus that Brad Holmes and Aaron Glenn are looking for, like we talked about earlier. And he's actually very good last year in zone coverage, by the way, too. But he excels in man, plays the run, aggressive, just like Arnold. He does not shy away from contact whatsoever. Got a lot of attitude, too. He's a lot of attitude. There was the thing when he got drafted. Apparently, he didn't look happy. Everyone was doing the J-Mo thing. He's not happy to be in Detroit. He's got attitude. He doesn't want to be here. No, he explained it the next day on Twitter. He's like, listen, he goes, I love it. I love that I got drafted here. It's just that I felt that I was better than a lot of players, and I was surprised I dropped that far. He goes, I hate 31 teams. I love the Detroit Lions. So I love that. I love that about the kid. He's got a little bit of attitude, and you want that in your secondary. You want some swag. You want some attitude, but you also want to be able to back it up. And I think he can do a lot of things. He wasn't really productive in college. That doesn't mean he's bad. That doesn't mean that he didn't have 17 interceptions. That means he can't run with guys. He can run with guys. He's got some speed to him. He didn't look good at the combine because he was testing with the bad groin, bad core muscle. So he ran kind of a slower 40 at 4.51. But they expect this guy to be like a 4.3, 4.4 guy. So he's got some speed. He's got some giddy up to him, and he's got a little bit of attitude to him. I love this pick. It protects them. It actually protects the team too as well, because you can't rely on Emmanuel Mosley. You don't know what's going to happen with Kendall Villador. You got guys like Khalil Dorsey, pretty good special team guy, though. You don't know what these guys are going to be. You don't know how long these guys are going to be around. Rakestraw is going to be a guy that's going to play, and he's really solid depth.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, like you, I get everybody made some comments about his reaction. And then we got the full information when he came up to talk. There were a lot of people that thought he would be towards like the late 20s, early 30s, or whatever. So end of the first round, early first round. So for him, probably sitting there with friends and family, and everybody's been telling you, hey, you're going to be picked number 22, 24, 25. And you see some other guys that you as an athlete, you as a person say, I'm better than that dude. And he just got picked. That's probably upsetting to you quite a bit. So I totally get his stance on that. And you know what? You look at so many of the players this regime has brought in, dudes with chips on their shoulders. And, whether you're talking about St. Brown, you could probably throw Goff in there and whoever else you want to throw in there. Now you've got another guy who loves hitting, is fast. And I get he at the combine, he's hurt, but he can do things most others can't. And that's what I love about the pick. You double down on the position. You got a ton of guys this free agent window that are going to come into this year, play on one-year deals like Carlton Davis III, et cetera, Emmanuel Mosley, et cetera, et cetera. So you know what? You don't have to overpressure these two rookies by saying, hey, you have to start for us. They may be, cornerback 1, 2, or 3. We'll find out after the preseason. But whatever it is, you've got depth there, unlike the last few years. And I think, in my opinion, the Detroit Lions are going to be the closest thing to a full court press, basically from basketball terminology on the football field. I think they're going to bring it almost every game against opposing offenses. They're going to blitz the heck out of them. And you know what? If you hit a pass on one of these tight windows, great. But if you're a little bit off, if you're a little bit hurried, throwing off that back foot, or your accuracy isn't that great because we've already hit you 12 times, that's probably going to be a pick six. And I could see us having a whole lot of picks this year. All right, Mark, let's go ahead and go on to the next guy. And I guess this is where some people are going to have some question marks, whatever. But hey, let's get your thoughts. Let's get people's thoughts in the comment section. Absolutely. So Sione Vaki, this guy, hey, he's a running back. Is he a safety? Man, is he everything? Is this guy got an S on his chest, or what's your breakdown or opinion on him at this point?
Yeah, man, I was watching I was watching some film on this kid. I've watched him play. I kind of like watching Utah Utes. They always have a really good defense usually the past few years. And this kid doesn't come off the field. This is a kid that is pretty much a safety. He was a safety for 2 years at Utah. He was asked to play running back this year a little bit due to injuries, I believe it was, and he filled in pretty nicely. He didn't have a crazy year, the run of football, but he caught the eyes of Brad Holmes in the scouting, and they brought him in for a visit. They liked the way he was wired. They liked the way he talked. They loved the way he runs the football, and in bonus, him that he can play some defense. So he's a thick kid, 5'11", 210 pounds. He's a leader. He's out there. He gets in your face. He's a football player. He's going to make what I think this kid's going to come in. He's going to make his mark. There's a good one too by J-Rod right there. Swiss Army knife. You just called him a Swiss Army knife. That's a really solid run right there. That's a good compliment. He's going to come in. He's going to really make a name, I think, in special teams though. He was a kick returner, punt returner. He did everything on special teams for Utah. Like I said, the kid don't come off the field, man, and the coaches love the guy. And he's a Dan. You just know he's a Dan Campbell guy because he's 24/7 football. And I actually like this pick. Don't get me wrong. I was scratching my head at our 2 4th-round picks. I was like, oh man, he went for a couple guys. He went for a couple guys that are going to be projects. But I actually like this pick by the Sione Vaki kid.
Yeah, with him, full disclosure, I'm a USC fan. I'm not a Michigan fan. I grew up being a USC fan. So I'm going to tell you this right off the bat. I hate this kid just for selfish reasons. He destroyed us. I don't remember exact stats, but there was a game this year he played, and because their team was so decimated at running back, he played, and he hadn't been a running back. I remember the pregame they're saying, man, they got a safety who's going to have to play running back. So everybody's talking trash. He comes out and he has something like 5 or 6 carries for 70 yards. And then he has 5 or 6 catches for just shy of 200 yards. And everybody's like, who is this guy? I'm cussing. I'm screaming. I'm throwing my Mountain Dew at the screen every time he touches the ball. So being a tortured USC fan at his expense, I'll say this for him. You already kind of said it, Mark. He's incredibly versatile. Yeah. And he runs hard, whether he's playing safety or running back. He's going forward like a missile. He doesn't care what's in his way. He's going to go destroy it. To me, that also translates, like you pointed out, on special teams when he's doing punt and kickoff returns. Now, he's a little bit more shifty than probably most would expect. So if you watch his hips, you watch how he gets in and out of his breaks when his first foot plants and then goes opposite, he does a real good job. So I could totally see where they're going to use this guy in all 3 phases of the game. I know I've mentioned it after the selection. To me, part of his real value is sort of like Rodrigo. You can probably eliminate somebody else from the roster because this guy can do so many things. Rodrigo now plays tight end, fullback, linebacker. Vaki can play running back, safety. Who knows? Maybe something else. Maybe you can put him in at some sort of slot position or whatever, or hybrid H position. But I think the Lions are trying to get more and more guys that fit that bill. I'm going to play you all over the place. So if you look at Arnold or Rakestraw, these guys all played safety as well as cornerback in college. Just like Carlton Davis for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played some safety and some corner. I believe the Lions are trending, at least talking on defense here, the day and age for them having safeties and corners may be ending because you're just going to be a secondary person. And you could see that with Brian Branch last year and, Ife Melifanu to an extent. Vaki, I think, is basically, he's got value all over the place, but he also gives you the freedom to say, hey, if we don't need a 5th running back because our safety is also a running back. So food for thought. Absolutely. All right, let's go on to the next guy. Wingo, Mekhi Wingo, and I may be saying his name wrong, but I think that's right. what's your impressions of this kid? I've heard, people praise him. I've heard people shame him. At the end of the day, what are your takes on him?
Well, Mekhi Wingo, this is an interesting prospect. I think this is a kid that maybe should have went a little bit earlier, but he's got a couple things going against him. He's not the biggest guy, and I'm talking about height-wise.
Yeah.
And he plays a position, defensive tackle, where you'd want to be a little bit bigger, or defensive end. He's the definition of a tweener, man. He's barely 6 foot 6'1", barely 6'1", but he can get to the quarterback. He's what you call a fire hydrant. He's like that fire hydrant type of player. He's just really stocky, really low to the ground. He's got some pass rush ability, but he doesn't have the length to be a defensive end. He doesn't have that, and he's a little bit too small to be permanently inside. But he played well at LSU, man. He played very well at LSU. I think he had 8 games in. He had like 4.5, 5 sacks. Then he ended up getting hurt. He's a guy that I thought would have been picked before the 6th round. Where they're going to play him, maybe they play him at the 5 technique. You don't want to play him too much outside because of the length. I'm a little bit nervous about his length. He's going to get manhandled especially with long arm offensive tackles. So he's going to have some struggle there a little bit, but I do love his giddy up to the quarterback, man. I think he's going to be a guy, we talk about it a lot, man. We talk about it. We hope Brad Holmes goes and gets guys that can get to the quarterback. I think this guy is one of them. Fortunately, he's a 6th round pick. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get going, but I do like him, man. And he was graded one of the best run tackling defensive run defense tackles in all of college football for the last 2 years. So you love that about his game. And another Brad Holmes gimme. He wants guys that can play the run and on both sides of the ball. So, but his ability to get to the quarterback, and Brad Holmes hit on it a lot. He can get to the quarterback. Don't be surprised where we put this kid.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you just said about him. My only real knock on him is his arm length, and I know you kind of alluded to it. I think he's going to really struggle to get separation at this level. So when he gets into people, when he gets weight on him or leverage, I think most offensive linemen at that level, especially the better ones, they're going to be able to push him and maintain him, control him. Maybe I'm proven wrong with it, but at least that's my initial worry with him. There's no doubt he's got a motor. There's no doubt he's got speed. He can do a lot of real good things. It's just, can he combat that? Is he going to be able to keep people away enough where, they can't control his body weight and his mass? So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. I guess I did skip one, so I apologize.
Yeah. I was going to say, okay, that's cool.
All right.
Giovanni, the Canadian.
All right. The fellow Canadian, Giovan Manu. I mean, I think he's become kind of a folklore hero around here in Detroit, or the Lions fan base, in the last 24 hours. Tell me your thoughts on this kid, because there's no doubt he is a mammoth human being.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I didn't know too much about this kid. Giovan Manu played at the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. That's in Canada. Nobody knows that. He was born Tongan, and he moved to Canada when he was like 11 years old, and now he's Canadian, and he went all these Canadian schools. But he is a mountain of a human being at 6'8", 352 pounds. And his RAS scores, his relative athletic scores, were fantastic. They were like 8+ out of 10. And Brad Holmes loves those type of guys. And he was another guy that there was 16 teams went to the University of British Columbia Pro Day. They went to go see another old lineman. I can't remember his name off the top of my dome, but a lot of them went to go see this guy. And I think that kid, I forget his name. It starts with an R, ends with a T. Can't remember his name, but apparently the Bears, I think, picked him up in UDFA. That's what I heard today. But this kid stood out on the crowd, obviously, not just because of his size, but just everything about him, man. Good feet, good pop on his hands, just, manhandling guys. My thing is it's another guy that they reached up for in the 4th round. I get it. They reached up. They gave up pretty good draft capital too for next year. They gave a 3rd to the Jets in 2025 to get this kid. So Holmes obviously loved him. He's a project. He's literally a project because hey, he's going up against Canadian talent, and it's not as good as those D1, D2 schools, and even those it's just not. That's the reality of it. So I think it's going to take a lot of seasoning for this guy. So this guy's going to literally sit back. He's going to learn from Decker. He's going to learn from Sewell. They got Colby Sorslow there from last year. He's got a really nice group of individuals that he can really lay his hat on and just like learn. Like I heard a really good quote by I think it was a CFL GM about this kid. They were like, the two teams I thought that this kid would excel in is either Philadelphia or Detroit.
Right.
Because they have a really good nucleus of good coaching, really good O-line play, and they got really two good O-line coaches. And we got one of the best in the NFL at Hank Fraley. So this is going to be a guy that Hank's super excited to get his hands on his kid already. And it's going to be a guy that I think is going to take a little bit of patience with, though. But I love the ceiling on him.
Yeah, yesterday when I got done working and a lot of these guys didn't have a ton of information or tape on. When I did my big board or whatever, I did the top 50 or so projections that I thought would be possibly there. I didn't worry about going down anywhere below that. But then I sat and watched him for a while and late last night, and I watched him. And the more I watched him, I think you already hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. If we didn't have Hank Fraley here, there would be a lot more concern on my part about the draft pick. There's without question, this guy's got some good parts that nobody can teach.
Right.
And so starting with that on the left side, and I'm guessing, it's just a guess, that in the future, he'll eventually be the right tackle for the Detroit Lions and Panay will swing over. Could be wrong. Maybe he'll be moved to guard. I don't know. Maybe he'll be the next punter of the team. But whatever it is,
he does have guard experience. He does.
Yeah. Imagine him and Dan Skipper in there. I mean, 2 6'8"
two monsters, man. There you go. We're running the football all day, bro.
Right. So when I watch his hand placement, the only things I had concerns with, I don't think he uses his thumbs very well getting under the shoulder pads. His elbows get caught too much inside. So you can see a lot of proficient NFL pass rushers, rip through and get those hands off him in a hurry. So, but that's teachable stuff. I did think his footwork was pretty damn good, especially when I saw him on the left side. I thought that lead left leg, when he popped it backwards to keep somebody in front, he does a real good job of that. He moves his hips well. So there's a lot of good things to like about this kid. And I totally get when you listen to him talk and stuff like that, he seems like the guy who would be like the passive giant outside the football world. But you get him on that field, man, I don't think there's anything passive about him. He's going to go ruin somebody's day. So, you look at our offensive line, is it possible with a year or so of development, he could be ready? Maybe, especially if you think Hank Fraley is the guy we think he is. But I think if you're going to bring him along for a year or two, maybe year 3, I think is where he could really break out, giving him 2 years worth of reps at the NFL level, then he could, really get somewhere. So my opinion.
It's super interesting. Yeah. And it's super interesting that you say that. Like, are they going to move Panay Sewell to left tackle? He's already probably one of the most dominating right tackles in the game today. He could possibly be the second best offensive tackle in all of football, next to Trent Williams. So do you want to take that risk and move him to left tackle? You know what I mean? And then have him at right. It could happen.
Right.
It could very well happen, but we don't have to worry about that for the next couple of years. So it's good that he's in-house with some damn good coaching.
Yeah, and we'll wait and see what happens with whoever. Maybe Taylor Decker sticks around. Maybe he gets a 10-year contract extension. I mean, I have no idea. Worry about that when it happens. Yeah. But anyway, I think it sounds like just about everybody who's watched him, you, me, anybody, we all say the same thing, that Manu, he might be a real steal when people look back in 3 or 4 years. All right, moving on to the next one. Christian Mahogany, what do you think of this kid? I mean, there was so much speculation he could be a late second rounder, a third rounder, fourth rounder. I mean, but hey, he fell a little bit, and you know what? The Lions weren't hesitating to go get him in the 6th round.
Yeah, he fell pretty hard, man. He was a guy, Christian Mahogany, that was really looking good coming into the 2022 season. They were talking about this kid as a possible 3rd rounder, 4th rounder, going to be almost a guaranteed starter. But he did blow his ACL.
Yeah,
he did hurt himself. And then kind of had I wouldn't really want to say an off year in 2023, but didn't have the year that he expected. But he's got a lot of football left in him. He's got a lot of football left in him. He's still young. He's a kid. He's coming out, but I think he's more of a run blocking guard than he is a pass blocker. He's going to really need to refine those tools, I think, at the pass blocking department. But I do love him in the run. He's nasty. He's a little bit nasty. I think it was Holmes who called him. He's got some dirt bag in him.
Yeah,
he's got a little dirt bag in him. So that means he doesn't take no crap. And he gets in your face. So he's going to be a guy that comes in. That's going to probably be immediate depth. I think he'll make the 53 as a 6th-round pick. I really do, especially if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, I think he can really make an impact, and he could get some snaps because you got to remember what our 2 guards are 30, 31. I think one's 31 and the other one's 34. So, these guys are going to need some breathers every now and then. Injuries could happen, even though Zeitler, knock on wood, is an Iron Man. Glasgow tends to get banged up a little bit here and there, but really good depth with Mahogany. Just needs to really refine that pass blocking style of his, I think, a little bit. But I love his run blocking ability.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with the run blocking with Mahogany. That there's no doubt this guy, when you watch him in college, he can get power and leverage and bear down on defensive linemen. I mean, he can bully ball them and get them to the ground in a hurry. My worry with him, and I know you already kind of said it, Brand Holmes said it, is the pass blocking. If you watch his core section, so his stomach, his hips and such, he just doesn't move well. And his footwork, when somebody starts getting past him, he stays pretty stagnant. So Fraley's going to have to do some work on his agility. They're going to have to get him to be able to turn and maintain blocking and then extend arms to keep the defensive lineman in front of him. All these things are coachable. All these things are teachable. It's just, I think he's going to make the 53-man roster because he's good at one side of the blocking assignment. Sort of like Scoresdale, I thought, run blocking, he wasn't bad. Pass blocking, there's room to improve, I guess would be a good coaching way to put it. Hey, it can only go up from here. And I see with Mahogany, too, that there's a lot of that there. But if you can get both of them to grow, then you do have some good young potential backup, if nothing else, maybe potential starter guards for you, because as you alluded to, both our current projected starting guards are a little bit older. I mean, Glasgow, I think, was on the 91 NFC title game Detroit Lions team. He's been in the league that long. So see what they can do there. But there does seem that the Lions, with the draft picks, again, using the guard and the offensive line, hey, we got some guys on 1-year deals. We're going to bring in some guys to bring around and improve. Cornerbacks, got a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. What do? You draft some guys to bring in their strong, possible upside guys that will probably help the team out next year and in the future. All right. Let's see. So let's talk about this. We've got some salary cap space left with the team. Do you think the Lions really go out and go after anybody else now that the draft's over? We got the undrafted free agents, etc. There doesn't appear to be a lot of holes left on this team.
Right.
Is there anyone you would go after or any position you'd go after to try to firm this team up before we get to July and preseason stuff?
Yeah, like Brad Holmes' job never stops. It doesn't stop now. Like now you start seeing, now we go through kind of maybe like this second or third wave of free agency that kind of goes on after the draft. You're going to start to see maybe some decent players maybe get cut. Some surprising guys going, whoa, that guy got cut. Maybe they should go after him. We got a little bit of money. I'm still selfish. I would love to see them go after a defensive end still. I still feel that we got a little bit of missing pieces there. I know they went after some guys in the UDFA. They went after a couple centers, like a guard and stuff like that, wide receivers. If there's a wide receiver maybe that gets cut, I wouldn't mind maybe taking a look at that. I'm not looking to spend a ton of money though.
Right.
Like if they want to, they can, but you're not going to see anybody of crazy significance, like big time players getting cut. But you're going to see some maybe possible good players that are maybe a little bit older, 27, 28, that could possibly get cut from teams that we're going to be shocked on. But I would kind of like to see maybe a defensive end or maybe a wide receiver. Just being selfish there.
No, I get what you're saying there with either position. And I know there was some speculation. Was it Hendricks or something like that from the Cincinnati Bengals? But the Bengals say they're not going to, let him go. They're not going to trade him. But I do think there could be some potential when you get to June and July, maybe one or two guys get cut. If that happens, you've got, I don't remember the exact figure, but I want to say somewhere around 10, 12 million in cap space left. I can see the Lions saying, hey, they appear to be in win now mode this offseason. I mean,
they are.
Brad Holmes has spent more money this offseason than I think he has the prior 3 seasons combined. So, there's not a lot of spots to fill, but like you've already said, if you can get somebody who maybe just helps out, even a solid rotational piece at the end position, who can give you maybe 10, 15 snaps at the pass rushing, then that probably helps out. Receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, probably this is his opportunity to shine. If not, then Antoine Green from last year is going to have that opportunity, or somebody's going to get it. But could you get another good veteran to come on in and help out? Maybe. But one thing I know a lot of Lions fans have been talking about, and it's been almost like Christmas-like. What do you think about the man, the myth, that still needs to be addressed, Jake Bates?
He's already a legend.
He is.
Hey, this kid's not missing. I don't know what he's done in the last week or so, but I know for the first couple of weeks, this kid wasn't missing, and he was hitting 60-plussers, 50-plussers with ease. Hey, man, I know that I know Brad Holmes and they can't talk to really the teams about they can't get in touch with them. They can't really talk to the Michigan Panthers. They can't talk to his agent. I still feel that stuff like that goes under the table. I still think that stuff goes under the table. Maybe, there's some types of text going on.
Right.
But the thing is, he's going to have a bevy of options. This Bates kid, if he keeps this up. If he keeps this up, this kid is going to get almost everybody is going to want a piece of this kid, except for the Baltimore Ravens, because they got, they got Justin Tucker over there. So it just feels like this kid is already a legend. He's already a legend, and he's hitting bombs with accuracy. I find it amazing that this kid did not kick one single field goal in college.
Right.
Where was this kid? He was a specialist. He was a kickoff specialist. And then he was in Houston's camp 2022. Right. Was cut. So I don't know, man. This kid's a legend. If Holmes wants to reach out in June or whatever it is, July, when they can go do it, go do it. You know what I mean? I still feel that this team, everyone's like, we need a kicker. We need a kicker. We picked up Jamie Turner from Michigan today. Again, I think as a UDFA. We did. Michigan kicker. He's some competition for Badgley, but I still don't feel it's going to change Dan Campbell. I don't care if you get a guy that's got an absolute howitzer on his leg. He's not gonna change. So,
right.
And then if you go get a guy that can kick a ball 60+ with ease, and then he continues to go for it, you're gonna get this fan base super mad. But I love what Dan Campbell does. But I'm happy for this Bates kid. He's gonna get another opportunity. He's gonna get another opportunity. So good for him, man. And if Holmes wants to reach out.
The questions I have is, did somebody push this kid in a vat of toxic chemicals, or did he get bit by a radioactive spider, or whatever happened, man? Because, high school, fine, he kicked, but nothing in college. So nobody in college or the pros apparently looked at this kid and say, hey, why don't you just go ahead and try to hit a 30-yarder, 40-yarder, 50-yarder, because one of his first kicks, I want to say, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame already from the Michigan Panthers. They took that ball and sent it over, and I guess there were some people that were upset saying, hey, he didn't do it in the NFL. And they had to remind him it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not the NFL Hall of Fame. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league that probably look over at their kicker and go, nah, we're good. Other than that, man, that's going to be free agency for the vast majority of the league when they can officially talk to him. You already talked about how Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell really, hey, he is who he is. he's going to go for it. Whether it's, he says the analytics or maybe it's just gut feeling or whatever, divine voices over him tell him to go for it. Who knows? But do you really think if you add Jake Bates to this team that he's going to start kicking more field goals versus going for it on 4th and 2 or 4th and 1?
Do I think he's going to go and kick?
Do you think he'll kick more field goals, or do you think he'll still keep going for it?
I don't think he's changing his colors, man. You can't. I don't think he's going to change, bro. Like, and it's not like Badgley, and it's not like Michael Badgley was horrific.
Right.
He didn't have a great success rate between 45 and 49 yards. I believe it was at 59%, but from 45 to 49, from 40 to 49, it was 81% though. And he kicked a 54 earlier in against the Rams a week before. He kicked a 54, but it was at home, in-house, everything. You know, he had the opportunity to use Badgley. He did. He had the opportunity to use him, man. It was a 46 and I think a 48-yarder. He didn't do it. So I don't know, man. Like, maybe he didn't trust Badgley, but I really don't think he's going to change his colors, man. He's going to stay the same guy. They were a 71.4% success rate going for it last year, Dan, going for it on 4th down. So,
right.
so I think that means a lot, man. And yes, he took it into the playoffs and he continued to do that, man. And I don't think he's going to change. I don't know. Like, do you think he would change?
No. I would say this to anybody who's ever coached. You can't worry about what people in the stands or all the coaches sitting up in the stands or media or whatever is going to say. You got to the NFC title game because you found a certain belief, and you rode it and rode it and rode it. Everybody praises you. Everybody says you're the smartest dude in the room or person in the room when it works. The unfortunate part is you did it in the NFC title game, and you know what? Unfortunately, there were a couple drops on 4th down. You know, I said it and I screamed it when I was watching that NFC title game. Josh Reynolds holds on to that pass, you're probably in the Super Bowl because you would have exhausted another 3 minutes off the clock. Even if you didn't move the ball effectively at that point, you've taken away more time. And I don't remember exactly how much time was left. I want to say like 5 minutes when he drops it in the 3rd. So let's just say you run it down to 2 minutes left in the 3rd. You probably get a few more yards here and there. But I think the Lions, I'll go probably to my grave saying that Josh Reynolds is able to hold on to that. The Lions go to the Super Bowl. But, hey, it didn't happen. So now you're going to get everybody yelling at you and screaming at you saying you should have kicked it, you should have done this. But that's part of coaching, and it's probably never going to change. So, all right, we've gone on for almost 50 minutes here. Real quick, before we do anything else, just because we did get somebody to send $20. J-Rod, thank you.
Awesome.
Yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning, I got a text right around 4 o'clock in the morning. Long time Lions Talk Live fan member, part of the Dew crew, Trey Tipton, his house burnt down. Apparently him and his family lost everything. So everything from yesterday's show, today's show, and tomorrow's show will be donated to him and his family, try to help out with the recovery. If you guys want to make a donation, feel free to do so. That's on your own accord. Yeah, and I'll try to help out any way possible. No different with Bergs, and I know Bergs ran a fundraiser awareness for mental distress. So he had, I want to say it was his brother who's coached in different sports and had a student go through an unfortunate event. So they're trying to do some fundraising to help increase that awareness. Stuff like that, I don't mind putting out on the channel because it helps people, not an individual. So in this case, I guess it's helping out a family. So if you want to help out, feel free to do so. All right, just a couple more topics here and then probably wrap up this show. You know, when the schedule comes out, everybody's going to say it's going to be more difficult to repeat this upcoming year. If you have to look just, Mark, at the NFC North, what do you feel the Lions have to do to beat and be the better team against each of the three divisional rivals?
Well, yeah, well, the NFC North, it's not going to be a joke. This NFC North division got a lot stronger during the offseason, during the draft. You're going to see probably maybe some hiccups going on with Minnesota Vikings and their new quarterback with JJ. If he starts right away, I'm sure he will beat out Sam Darnold, but you might see Sam Darnold start a game or two, maybe just because the veteran presence there, but who really knows? He's in a great situation. So then you got the Bears, They got weapons all over the place. Still a good defense. I still think their offensive line needs a little bit of tweaking, but they're going to be a problem. I think the Bears will be a problem. And then Green Bay, they kind of turned it on at the end of the year last year. Jordan Love showed that anybody you pick in Green Bay as a quarterback will succeed. So it's like we're going to see another run of 20 years with Jordan Love or whatever. I hope not, but he's got some weapons. He's got a decent O-line. He's got good running game. He's got a defense behind him, good coaching. We're just going to have to play, just our brand of football. We're going to have to at least split those games, hopefully get 4 out of 6, 5 out of 6. Hopefully we can win those games, man. We have to win for sure the North, though. You have to win the North, man. And it's going to be tough. Right. It's going to be tough. The schedule is tough for us. I still see 11 wins. I predicted 11 wins last year, and I think we got 10 or 11, and we ended up with 12 or 14 at the end of it, 13, 14 at the end of it, all the way through the playoffs. But it's just going to be tougher to get back, just like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell said, man. He goes, it's tougher to get back to where you are. It's like now teams will be gunning for them. Now they got a little bit of a bullseye on their back, and that's just the way it is. But they're going to have to play. They're good on offense again, obviously. Do what they do on offense, score a ton of points. I don't want Dan Campbell changing his way up because if they get some type of kicker on the roster, I want him to go for it. I want him to succeed at it. And his defense just needs to be better in pass defense. They're going to have to find a way to get to the quarterback more. And like you said, the blitzing, the schemes, the different types of plays, that's going to get into the quarterback. And I think they're ready to win again. I really do. But they're going to have to win 11, 12 games, 100%.
Yeah, in my way too early preseason prediction that I gave like a week ago or whatever, I had us going 13 wins just because I think it's just my opinion. I think this offense is actually going to be better this year than last year. And then I think the defense is going to be the big thing because when I saw at least what I was anticipating we're going to do with the defense this year, and it seems like the first 2 picks reinforce that. I think we're going to be the biggest gambling defense out there. And yes, we're going to give up some 97-yard touchdowns here and there, but I think we have the potential to get maybe 2 to 4 picks a game because last year you saw a lot of the cornerbacks being positioned for it. They just couldn't hold on. So I'm assuming if you have better talent and guys with better hands, and that's one of the things I absolutely loved watching tape of Arnold, he instinctively locates the ball. He reads body language incredibly well. When that receiver's hands start going up, you watch him. He turns and locates the ball, and he snags that puppy. He reels it in. I mean, the kid's got a lot of things I damn well do like about it. I think you get him out there, Rakestraw out there. Who knows? Mosley gets healthy again. He's a pretty good corner. And then Davis, you got Branch. You start getting it. There's a lot of guys who can cover out there. So 1 or 2 bad passes might be, points scoring for the other way or at least possessions for the offense. So, all right, Mark, we've been going on for just shy of an hour. Tell everybody about your channel and give yourself a shout out.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on, Dano. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody in the chat, man. I'm Mark Orum, Orum's Forum. I have a Detroit Lions YouTube channel. I try to do most of the news that's going on in Detroit Lions land called the Orum's Forum. I put videos out for that, and I do like podcasts. Don't really have set times for my podcast, kind of just go fly by the seat of my pants, man. But I do put them up quite a bit. It's called the Orum's Den. And I just I love to talk Detroit Lions football and whatever else when anybody wants to talk football, as long as it's football related and we don't get silly. But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. They coming on, guys. Orum's Forum, though. Thanks a lot, guys.
Go check them out. Maybe give them a peek. Maybe give them a subscribe and all that stuff. Yeah. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this up for a Sunday night special post-draft wrap-up. I want to thank Mark for coming on. I got to go on to his channel, return the favor. So for those of you who don't know, Lions Talk Live, we go every day of the week, 7 a.m. to roughly 8 a.m. If you get up early or just want to watch it later, come on over to the channel and check it out. So hope you all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.